Okay. So yeah, so what are your memories of Orsum or
So I had mostly been officially living in Berkeley from about 2010 until the summer of 2015. And then I moved back to Vallejo full time. And when I did, I didn't know anybody or very few people. I still had a connection through the United Democrats. Um, but then the Orsum draft EIR came out in September of 2015. And about 30 of us who were primarily strangers to each other got together kind of around Colleen Cole, Clarion Call. But Paul Bohnberg actually was the first one who brought this up to me about this project didn't sound good, didn't sound like something we wanted. But primarily, I mean, what happened with Fresh Air Vallejo was Colleen Cole got us all together, about 30 strangers, and parceled out the draft EIR, which was about 800 pages with 3,000 pages of exhibits, not all of which were in English, and not all of which could be opened without an expensive CAD program. Um, yeah, and these people are, they became my best friends over the next course of the next 4.5 years
wow.
of fighting that cement plant.
Wow.
Um, but I credit Paul Bohnberg for first bringing it up, Colleen Cole for having the first initial meetings, and then Peter Brooks, who was an amazing chair initially, and his knowledge about how to use social media and how to get word out. I mean, he was an advertising exec of some kind, I think,
Mhm.
but he was fabulous. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I have a I'm gonna call him again. Maybe he was out of town. I'm gonna and I have Colleen Cole and I are in touch, and so I'm gonna add her recording too. So yeah, and then I'll have Dawn down. I have some recordings I from Brenda from like 2 years ago that I'm using, and um yeah, and then Robbie. So you were at the farmers market all the time, right?
I was one of them that was at the farmer's market fairly often.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the things we had there was a box of slag.
Hmm.
This is what they're going to be shipping in the hulls of super tankers, and it's going to be taken out of there with clamshell lifters. And it was such an inappropriate project for Vallejo and for that part of the world that it really is kind of surprising it took us 4.5 years to kill it. But the other big thing in it was the Department of Justice letter. The letter that they wrote at the end to the city of Vallejo that pointed out all of the completely inappropriate parts of the draft EIR and basically said, you're going to have to start over and do this again. At which point, the landowners withdrew their appeal and the thing died.
Wow.
Uh, it shouldn't have taken 4.5 years, but it did. And yeah, I was at the farmers market a lot with it, as were other people.
Yeah.
You know, um, Ann Carr was big, Brenda was big.
Yeah.
Um, the initial meetings were at Colleen's house.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was and most of the people who are my good friends now in Vallejo, I met through Fresh Air Vallejo.
That's really well, this is wonderful because um yeah, that's very much what this is turning out to be like some like Ravi's was sort of like part of it is just real philosophical about friendship almost. And yeah, people are just saying some different things about just how people powered it was. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna add what you put down. And yeah, I mean it was just true citizen activism. And so it's important to have that down. I
Yeah, absolutely.
and then
And
I'm
then after that, we then incorporated. So Fresh Air Vallejo is now an official 501c3 and continues to, try to keep an eye on the environment in Vallejo.
Mhm.
Liat is the current chair. She is her big issue is housing
Yeah,
justice,
yeah,
which the city needs to get that element in their general plan,
yeah.
environmental justice and housing justice.
Yeah.
Um, and at our annual meeting back in January, Solano Together gave a presentation. And so if Fresh Air Vallejo decides to officially join that coalition, I will probably resign as secretary because I'm also on the county planning commission and I don't want there to be any question that I don't have an open mind on this
Yeah.
because I'm sure it's going to come back in front of us at the
Yeah.
planning commission. But Fresh Air Vallejo is still going strong. We almost got the breath mobile here.
Mhm.
Don Osborne knows way more about that.
What is the breath mobile?
So the Breathmobile is a mobile asthma clinic, basically, that
Okay.
a gentleman named Dr. Burns down in Oakland has one scheduled for down there,
Yeah.
has one going down there, and was trying to get one here in Vallejo and came awfully close. And then he was basically the mover and shaker behind that, um, getting it here to Vallejo. And when he passed away, the whole thing just kind of died.
Oh, that's something I can get involved with. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it sounded like it was one of those organizations that he was the primary,
Um,
he knew where everything
yeah.
was, he knew how to get things going, and once he was gone, it just kind of fizzled.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if there's something called the breath, I mean, that is just such a wonderful concept that I don't even know about. So I'm gonna have to look that up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, they have it down in Oakland and possibly in Concord, and they were looking at Vallejo because we have such high. I mean, this was something that came out of Fresh Air Vallejo, discovering that the people living around the Sperry Mill
Mhm.
have the second and third highest cancer and asthma rates for children in the state.
Wow.
And we're going to give them a cement plant. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
So a lot of info about Vallejo came out in the course of Fresh Air Vallejo. And a lot of that medical stuff came from Lori Alio,
Hmm. Okay.
another great resource. And her husband, Saul, is an artist and he did some of our first posters.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely a group effort.
Yeah.
Lots of people put lots of different things into it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I can't even, can you imagine what our roads would look like right now if we had 275 semis every single day,
Mm.
24/7 coming through town? That
It
was the vision that Rosanna Verderaliga and Pippin Dew had. They kept promoting it.
unbelievable. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I'm just getting different good stories from people. And then also again, like Ravi was talking also about like what you're saying about the work that's come out of there. And yeah, yeah, I'm getting messages from Ann Carr now, so I'll be getting her stories. And then I mean, this is also gonna be what also needs to happen is just recording just about Vallejo activism. So yeah, so some of this, that's something I want to work on too with the museum because yeah.
Well, another big player, I mean, at the time we still had Artisan.
Hmm.
And that was a great community resource. It was a place for us to meet.
Yeah.
They promoted it. But yeah, Jimmy and Ken Citizen Air Monitoring, that came out of Fresh Air Vallejo.
Yeah.
And they've been fabulous.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what I'm doing this project for. And so,
Okay, their
I,
academy.
yeah, yeah, the
Yay.
ambassador thing. So, yeah, I mean, we got $100 for each session we went to, and then $500 for these projects. And so, I mean, it's cool because I mean, there's no way I would be doing this otherwise. But and then I mean that's how you need to do that in order to get more people in. I mean there's people in with kids, and so yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah,
Mm.
very good.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, I can definitely use some of this. And
Good.
yeah, man, we got good stuff this week.
Yeah, Ann Carr would be a good one to talk to. And
Yeah.
Michelle also. Michelle was she hired an economist to do a study on the draft EIR that was also really helpful, and she did that with at her own not inconsiderable expense.
Yeah, sure isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean there was
And Jeff Carlson was another great one because he
yeah,
was literally a scientist, and he could check our science and make sure we weren't putting out idiotic things. I mean, at one point somebody wrote something and they used the wrong um, CO2 or
yeah,
and they were basically I mean, it was laughing gas.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, don't send that out. So Jeff being a scientist was also really helpful. There
Oh,
were just so many people that were so helpful.
yeah, there really was.
It was a joint effort, and man, I can't even imagine what we would be living in had we failed.
Yeah.
I mean, 200 and that of all I used to be able to rattle off facts and figures off the top of my head. The only one I remember now is 275 because that's how many semis we would have had every day on our city streets that they were not obligated to maintain. So you think they're bad now? Holy buckets. Imagine that
Oh,
many semis every day. And then going up and down Lemon because that was the only street that accessed Sperry Mill.
mhm.
Another one of my heroes in this was Ed Ferris, who was the president of the Longshoremen's Union. And every time after the longshoremen joined Fresh Air Vallejo and came out against this, he would show up at every city council meeting and bring at least one or two guys with him and speak about it. And what I remember also at the press conference that they called down by the gates of Sperry Mill, and a reporter was asking him, your guys are the ones who would get this work, emptying these ships. So why are you taking this position against your guys making money? And he just looked at him and he said, not all money is good money. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm.
I don't remember, in fact, how many. We got something like 60 organizations to join us against this. And those ties are still there to the Sunflower Alliance and Greenbelt Alliance and, different environmental organizations, because there's a lot of them in our area because of the refineries.
Mhm.
And then Valero also in Benicia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, in some ways, it was good for that. It brought a lot of people out of the woodwork, got a lot done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons I'm doing this, because yeah, there needs to be examples, and it is inspiring. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, you're so welcome.
Yeah.
Keep trying, Leah. Try texting her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a couple, I'll see her in the coming week too, because, but I mean, if I mean, she's probably, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like with Leah, like if people don't, with stuff like this, I mean, it's not, if some, I mean, if somebody, it's not really good to like keep bugging people about it until you've really exhausted everyone else that wants to talk. Because, yeah,
That's a
I
good
mean,
point.
well, with Leah too, I mean, I feel like she just like I would love to just do a personal, I think the effort should be to just do a personal history of just Leah talking about her life. That would be that's what I'd want to
Oh,
go.
yeah, because
Yeah,
I think she's had an interesting one,
I think so.
and
Yeah,
I feel very fortunate to call her a friend
yeah, yeah, me too.
who I wouldn't have known but for Fresh Air Vallejo.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I'm real honored to be included with her in the Women's History Month proclamation. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and today is International Women's Day, isn't it? March 8th?
It is. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I swear. I mean, this is the whole thing with Cassandra. I mean,